one of the shortest. The 2021 Belgian Grand Prix lasted only 3 minutes and 27 seconds, the race being flagged due to wet weather conditions on lap 3. Ferrari are the only team to have raced in every single season of Formula 1. Sebastian Vettel holds the F1 record for the shortest time elapsed before picking up a penalty. He was caught speeding in the pit lane in practice.
After 15 rounds, the first season of Formula Regional Series comes to a close. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the finale of Formula Regional Series, the title decider. The maths is simple. Track Racer leads Smoking Cheese by 12 points. Realistically, Smoking Cheese needs to win this race. All Track Racer needs to do is finish inside the top 4. That's where he finishes. He will win the title, no matter what Smoking Cheese does. Smoking Cheese really needs to win if he finishes second. He's got to hope that Track Racer gets no less than 6 points. And he will be crowned champion. And that's where the eyes will be today. Between those two, Track Racer led the championship for such a long time this season. But Smoking Cheese, after joining during the midway points in the year, started to gain the time, gain the points, and gain overtakes on the track. And he closed that gap right down to where we are now. 12 points separates those two. Undoubtedly, they've been the best drivers this season. And we've seen a few showdowns between them this year. Think back to Silverstone, where Track Racer made a few mistakes during the race. It looked like Smoking Cheese had the better of him. But a late safety car and a late glitch with the safety car allowed Track Racer to pull away and win the race. There's been many, many more battles between them this season. But now there is one final battle. Smoking Cheese still in the pits. Track Racer, though, on his outlap. He's coming out on a set of mediums, so he's not on the quickest tyre to begin with here. Is Track Racer. We'll wait and see if his lap time is anything to admire. This is so crucial for him to get a good qualifying. Typically, Track Racer is very, very quick in qualifying trim. But a few times this season, mistakes have been made, which has left him to struggle in the race as well. Think back way down to the start of the year in Portugal. In one of the opening rounds, Track Racer had won the previous round. He was leading the championship, and he made a huge mistake. Many huge mistakes in qualifying, and it led to him crashing out in the race as well. And we've seen that a few times this season. But we'll see what he does. This is his first lap of the session with 14 minutes to go. Smoking Cheese still in the pits. Meanwhile, the first two to settle up are the two Aston Martin drivers. It's Kieran with a 123.5 so far, and then JD with a 123.7. It's interesting, quite a few drivers on the mediums at the moment. The next driver to come across the line to finish his lap will be Track Racer's teammate Shreves, who on the softs realistically will look to try and take provisional pole. But Track Racer, his teammate, is on a lap. As Shreves, no, it only goes P3. It's not the best lap from Shreves, a 124.1. And he will look to improve on that as the session progresses. But it's purple in the middle sector for Track Racer. He's starting off well. He's starting off strong. Smoking Cheese, interestingly, is still in the pits. Once again, if you have just joined us, 12 points is the gap between Track Racer and Smoking Cheese. Track Racer leads the title at the moment. After a string of really, really bad races during the mid-pack of the year. Managed to pull it back, finally getting a win. An absolute masterclass last time out in Brazil. Absolutely dominating the pack. And he's dominating the pack so far in qualifying. And it's the first breath to Track Racer, a 122.9. The first driver in the 122s so far this session. Not only that, but he does it on the medium. Smoking Cheese is still in the pits, yet to come out. Josh Owen is on a lap. He is on the soft compound tyres with a great chance to go quickly as well. He will look to be very, very fast. Evan Roberts, a Formula Original Series veteran. Was a key driver in the old edition of Formula Regional Series before it was revamped and remade. And he's back today for a one-off race round Abu Dhabi. We'll see what he can do as Josh Owen does take provisional pole. What can Evan Roberts do on his return to Formula Regional Series in the Mercedes across the line? It's only P6 so far. There must have been a mistake in that final sector. And in 130.4, he will definitely look to improve on that. But Josh Owen, he'll be happy with that. Granted, he was on the softs when the others around him were on mediums. But there's still obviously plenty more time to improve. As we ride with the Ferrari of Alfie. Ferrari have had a very up and down season. Alfie looked early on like he had a chance at the title. And he did until only a few rounds ago. Before being mathematically eliminated. But he does have pace. And as we go into next season, he will look to try and remount that charge on the title. Ferrari still have work to do in the Constructors though, whereas the winners of the Constructor Championship may have been wrapped up. That was AlphaTauri last weekend. There is still all to play for the likes of P3, P4, P5, etc. Everybody is within a chance of moving up the grid. At the moment, Mercedes in last with only 80 points. One behind Aston Martin, who are showing strong today already. As Spray and Pray goes into P2 with a 22.8. So very good lap from him in the Williams. Williams in a bit of a battle as well. It looks like they're pretty much on their own in P8 at the moment. As Jensen now sets the fastest lap. And that's a big lap from Jensen. 122.6. He was on the pace last weekend. Out in Brazil. He was very, very strong. Some mishaps in the strategy, however. It led him to drop a little bit down the order. And a few bits of contact with drivers as well. Made him struggle. Still Jensen. One of the surprises. One of the only drivers this season not to get a win is Jensen. He's been so quick. He's got an awful lot of pace in that Alpine. He'll try and look to utilise that today. Alpine are only 25 points behind Ferrari in the Constructors. Currently sat in P5. They'll look to gain some points and potentially a position. Here's Fnord Throne. And you have to say, your hearts go out to Fnord Throne. He looked right in the running. He had a really, really good handful of results. Did Throne. During the middle part of this season, when Track Racer was struggling to even get in the points. And he took the lead of the title for a round or two. But contact with rivals in Australia and retiring in Brazil meant that he was out of the running mathematically. There's still a chance for him to finish P3. And he probably will be able to do that. His teammate not here today. EST on 143 points. Fnord Throne on 138. He can't drop any lower than 4th. All he can do is go up to P3. But either way, it's been a brilliant season for him. Wrapping up the Constructors. Not only doing that, fighting for the title right until the last. Race winner, of course, this year as well, Fnord Throne. On a handful of occasions. And he will look definitely next season to try and claim the title. But this year, it's down to either Track Racer or this man now. Smoking Cheese, who is finally setting his first lap. And it's interesting to see what he can do now. And this is a big one. purple through the third sector. The first sector, I should say. That's what the mini-map says. As you go down the long back straight. One of the longest straights on the F1 calendar. It goes on for a while, and we should see a lot of dive bombs during the race. Up the inside there as Track Racer takes provisional pole on his mediums, and they're 4-lap-old mediums. That's a big statement from Track Racer for the 122.5. And he's once again just showing how both him and Smoking Cheese really are a step above in terms of qualifying pace. Sometimes they leave a little bit to the unknown in the races. That's why we've seen other race winners this season, surprise race winners potentially. But this has looked like a good lap from Smoking Cheese so far. No bits of oversteer at all. He's kept it cool, calm and composed. And with one more corner to go, can he challenge Track Racer? This is the first little battle between the two. Smoking Cheese across the line. It's only P6. Quite a lot of time then lost in the third sector. And he finds himself half a second away from his championship rival. Of course, there is still time. There's 6 minutes to go. He can either go again straight away, which he doesn't. He's 2.5 seconds off. It means he's backing off. Which should mean he'll dive into the pits at the end of this lap, put on a set of soft compound tyres, and go for pole. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1. It's just a Red Bull getting out of the way of a Mercedes, and I believe that is Evan Roberts. So this could be interesting. We'll ride on board with Evan for this lap. And he's a 10th up on his previous best through the first sector. He's run a little bit wide through there, and he's invalidated his lap as well. Not a run he wanted onto the back straight. He went a little bit wide and then cuts over the white lines, which means he has now invalidated. And he will have to wait and go again. It's not been the dream start so far. The dream return for Evan Roberts, I should say. Noodle currently sat in P14 in the other Williams. His teammates have retired. Noodle will be starting from the back, as he has a qualifying ban for this evening. That's a shame for Evan Roberts. It does look like he is still going for this lap though, so we'll see how quick he can go. It does look neat. It doesn't look like he's struggling with the Mercedes. Just a few errors here and there. And he will dive straight into the pits. He needs to find a rhythm, does Evan. Struggling in that third sector ever so slightly, as Shreve's clearly not on a lap. Kieran, however, is. He is improving through that first sector. And we'll wait for this second back straight. A little bit of twitching oversteer as he goes through the chicane. But he's kept it going in a straight line and hasn't lost too much. What is his second sector split? He's a 10th up on his previous best. So if he can find some time through this final sector, he could improve still. But that was a massive spit of oversteer. He couldn't control the car during the long left-hander. And that's that lap ruined for him. But he's still got time to go again. He'll dive into the pits and put on a fresh set of tyres. No doubt. Jensen, however, he is also on a lap. And this could definitely be a challenger for pole. Track Racer has gone onto the softs. He's not out on track just yet. Nor is Smoking Cheese. But they are both getting softs ready. It's purple in the first sector for Jensen. Can he cause an upset pole today? Of course, that Alpine and Jensen particularly will not be in the headlines today. That is the battle between Track Racer and Smoking Cheese for the title. However, Jensen still has a point to prove, yet to take a win this season. A lot of that, it has to be said, down to strategic performances. He seems to be a lot harsher on the tyres than a lot of the drivers on the grid. What can we see during qualifying? And it's particularly this second sector split. He is absolutely neck and neck with his previous time. So he needs to find some more time, but he's gone way too wide through the left-hander. And that will invalidate his lap. He will have to go again. He's taken too much time out of the track. Went too aggressive. What about Italy? What can he do? He's been on the podium a few times this year. Haas is a team that started off very, very slowly this season before all of a sudden from out of nowhere getting a 1-2 in Singapore. a handful of weeks ago. It was a massive result, and it boosted them right up the Constructors' order. And it puts them 6th at the moment, with a chance to overtake Alpine. And what can he do? As drivers are now starting to peel out of the pits that you can see on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. They're all getting out, getting ready to set their final laps. Track Racer and Cheese still waiting, however, in the pits. It looks decent from Italy. A little bit of a twitch as he went through the fast left-hander at the beginning of this third sector. And now it's a tricky stadium section, if you like, as you go under the bridge. Back through, and now only a handful of corners to go. One more, keep it in the white lines, which he does. He's not leaving too much on the table. He's making sure he's in within track limits. He gets across the line, and it's only P10 from Italy. He would have wanted maybe a little bit more than that. And that will probably be his last chance. 1:23.3 for Italy. But this is crunch time now. Smoking Cheese is out. Track Racer is also out. Both of them looking to find some time on the circuit. And at the moment, it is lining up with Smoking Cheese first. And this is absolutely crucial to what happens in the rest of this evening. Track Racer currently on provisional pole. But remember, he set that lap on a medium set of tyres. He's got a lot more time left in the bag. Smoking Cheese in P7 at the moment. Once again, that is not respective of his pace. He will be looking to massively improve on that. You place your money on one of the two of them getting pole. What Cheese will want is for other people to beat Track Racer. Maybe for Track Racer to invalidate on this lap. But he is setting up. Look at them both together. And it will be Track Racer now. He's been let through by Cheese. Those two in your shot there. That is the championship today. Those are the two that will be deciding the fates of what happens. And Track Racer is going. He's starting his lap. So is Smoking Cheese. Here we go. It is crunch time now. Jensen as well, right behind Smoking Cheese. He's going to get a massive slipstream. And if Cheese is close enough, he could also get a big slipstream from his championship rival down both of the straights. First sector, Track Racer improving ever so slightly. What about Smoking Cheese? We can't see just yet, and he's gone massively wide of Smoking Cheese. It's a huge mistake on his lap. So luckily he hasn't invalidated. He's still got a chance during this lap. But that is not what the McLaren driver would have wanted. And he's given up, he's backed off. Smoking Cheese has given up on his lap. That's a massive moment in the championship. Smoking Cheese lifts off. And after making a mistake in the first sector, he won't claim pole. And it's going to be so difficult now to claw his way back up. Josh Owen currently on provisional pole. A 1:22.3. Kieran in P2. JD beating him. He goes into the front row now. What about Track Racer? What can he do? It's the Ferrari of Alfie now as well coming across the line. What can he do in that Ferrari? He jumps up, but it's only 6th. It's not enough for pole. Track Racer, surely one of the only other men that can take this now. Final corner. Does he take pole position for the championship? Yes, he does. It's pole position for Track Racer. Jensen close, but not close enough. F1 Mad, the only other driver that can. He's still on the lap. I don't think he's close enough. But what a lap from Track Racer. A 1:21.9. The only man in the 1:21s. And he now has one firm hand on the title already. F1 Mad coming in P3. It's a second row for him. He'll be happy with that. But first blood goes to Track Racer. And it's a horror show for Smoking Cheese. He needed pole position today. And he finds himself down in P11. And Track Racer with a 12-point advantage already going into this race. Finds himself with a 10-position advantage. Going into what counts. But there it is. Your final qualifying standings of 2023. And it's Track Racer that takes pole, 3/10 ahead of Jensen, who joins him on the front row, just like he did in Brazil. F1 Mad P3, and then Josh Owen 4th on the second row. Third row is Fnor, Throne and JD, and then Kieran and Alfie line up behind them, and then it's Spray and Pray. Evan Roberts on his return to Formula Regional Series gets inside the 122s and just about into the top 10. Smoking Cheese P11. It is not what he wanted from his day. He needed to be better than that, and he made a mistake on his final run. And then it's Itzley, Shreves, Matt Harris, Noodle, and Bananas, both of them not setting a time due to having qualifying bans. But what a qualifying session that was. And we are truly setting up for a duel for the ages. A duel at dusk as the light fades and the sun dips beyond the horizon. Only a handful of laps to go before the horizon of the Formula Regional Series calendar. 1 round to go. 2 drivers. Only 1 champion. This is it. Let us know in the comments, who do you think will claim this? Track Racer has the advantage, both on track and in the points. But we know that with potential safety cars on their way, Smoking Cheese can climb his way through an order. Here we go. For the final time in 2023, Formula Regional Series is underway. Track Racer with a lot of wheel spin from the start. He's gotten away well and he covers Jensen into turn 1 and he takes the lead nice and simply. He cool, calm and composed, and he wants to try and drive away. There's a little bit of contact behind. Jensen almost losing it as F1 Mad has jumped up to P2. A brilliant start for him. Meanwhile, side by side further back, Smoking Cheese has already climbed up his way into P9 and making more moves. There's a Ferrari going side by side with an Aston Martin. Smoking Cheese sitting pretty, doesn't want to get into any trouble, and that's a great exit from the left-hander, and he moves his way already up into P8. And it's side by side for a lot of drivers before they go line and stern. And it's Alfie looking to make a move up the inside into turn 1, and his teammate having to defend and do the same. As we go through the first chicane, there's a little bit of contact for Alfie. It's not what he wanted as JD fighting for his position with his teammate Josh Owen now in P5. Side by side with JD tucking back into the slipstream. Not quite close enough. But it's 2 by 2 by 2 as we go into the left-hander. And F1 Mad is right on the back of Track Racer from the start here. It's a brilliant little start from the McLaren. He overtook into P2 and he's now already challenging for this lead. He knows he needs to help his teammate out here. He needs to get in front and he needs to hold up the Red Bull. And that's what he's doing so far, F1 Mad. Right behind him, and he will have to wait for DRS, which isn't activated until lap 3. Fastest lap goes for Track Racer, who does survive the early onslaught. And as predicted, Track Racer does start on the mediums. F1 Mad is on the softs. So it's quite clear that he wanted to get that jump early on today. He wanted to get the move done to try and help his teammate. And he might have a very, very strong chance here. Down the back straight. It is Red Bull versus McLaren. Not the one we thought we'd see. F1 Mad pushed all the way onto the right-hand side, onto the ripple strip. But it looks like as we go into the hairpin, he's made the move stick. Jensen wants to have a go as well. Meanwhile, behind Josh Owen up the inside as well of JD is fights left, right and centre. But F1 Mad has taken the lead. He's got to defend though. He's got to use his ERS, his energy recovery system, down this second straight. And he will hug the inside and make sure that that Red Bull cannot get through. Who tries it round the outside, but there's not enough grip. And there's not enough time. F1 Mad makes the move, but Track Racer is still trying. He wants to get his nose in there. Not quite. Brilliant move from F1 Mad, who takes the lead of the championship. Not the championship, the race, I should say. But that helps his teammate in the championship, who already has jumped up into P4 and is only a second and a half away from where he needs to be. It's a reminder, if Track Racer finishes P3 or higher, he is champion. Finishes P4. Smoking Cheese needs to win to claim the title. JD running wide there. The Aston Martin struggling with that pressure of Josh Owen behind. But Josh Owen and JD were fighting so hard, and all of a sudden they both let Smoking Cheese through, who's now right on the back of the leaders. Track Racer is going to look to regain that position from F1 Mad straight away, and he will do. DRS is now activated, and it means he'll have an abundance of straight line speed to use. And he does get past the McLaren, and Jensen wants to have a go as well. Up the inside goes Jensen. Is it a double overtake? Well, he's got the McLaren, and something's happened to Track Racer here. He ghosted through them, and all of a sudden, he's dropped down to P3. And it means that now Jensen and F1 Mad are fighting for the lead. But what on earth happened to Track Racer as F1 Mad dives up the inside? He wants to claim back the lead of this Grand Prix. Jensen, remember, yet to take a victory this year. F1 Mad claiming one in Mexico a handful of rounds ago. In that very Alpine that Jensen's sitting in now. But what on earth happened to Track Racer? Whether there was a little bit of contact made or he made a mistake or something, but he finds himself in P3. And at the back of your screen just now, who do you see? That's Smoking Cheese. That's the main rival for the championship. It's a horror start for Track Racer. It's everything he needed to do for Smoking Cheese. But as a reminder, if things finish how they are, Track Racer will be the champion. And he's already causing havoc. F1 Mad is overtaken by Jensen once more. And now Track Racer has got him. And it looks like he wants to make a double overtake happen here. Meanwhile, Smoking Cheese has got Josh Owen all over the back of him. And it will be 2 by 2 as we go into the hairpin note. Josh Owen thinks better of it. Doesn't want to get involved too much, but will ride on board with F1 Mad. Track Racer reclaiming the lead of this Grand Prix. And now the DRS is open. F1 Mad with next to no ERS to use. He's got no battery spare. That bar right at the bottom of his steering wheel that you can see means that he's got almost no charge to use. Track Racer in P1 with F1 Mad second now. Track Racer regains the lead, but as the laps go on, F1 Mad is going to start to struggle more and more due to the fact that he's on the softs. Once the tyres on this game get to 25% wear for the drivers, that's when you really start to see a drop off in pace, and that will come for the softs a lot quicker than it will for the mediums if you're new to Formula 1. 3 compounds of tyres, softs, mediums and hards. Softs are the quickest, but they degrade the fastest. Means you have to come into the pits way earlier. And it's vice versa for the hards. And Track Racer is displaying that. And he's already starting to pull away a little bit. But Smoking Cheese, what is positive for him and what's important is that he is now within this DRS train. He can see the leader. He can see his championship rival. And he's going to play the long game, surely, as Smoking Cheese today. He needs to. But at the moment, the top 5 separated all by less than a second. It's brilliant battling, apart from F1 Mad, who has just slipped out of the DRS from Track Racer. He's got it back now, but Jensen is all over the back of him, and it's fair to say is probably a little bit quicker as it stands. Kieran gets a 3-second time penalty. The Track Racer makes his way onto lap 6. It's an all but familiar sight. All of a sudden, he's broken DRS. And will try and start to run away in this Grand Prix. And the more distance he puts on Smoking Cheese, the more distance he puts in the championship. As it stands, Track Racer will sweep the championship. Smoking Cheese will have to resort to P2. That's not what he wants, and he needs to get a move on now. F1 Mad has dropped away. Jensen even dropping away from F1 Mad now. He needs to get through. Both of them in front don't have DRS. This is what Smoking Cheese needs. And it's a very easy overtake on the Alpine, and he moves his way up into P3. Josh Owen having a little look. Meanwhile, behind, the 2 Aston Martins going side by side into the hairpin. A battle for the fringe points positions, and it's a brilliant switchback by Kieran. And he's going to have the upper hand on his teammate. down the second back straight. And with the DRS open, he makes the move done really easily. Josh Owen now and Jensen going side by side. So Jensen's lost 2 positions. F1 Mad dropping behind his teammate, playing the team game. He knows he's not in the fight for the title. Smoking Cheese is. But here we go. There's a yellow flag in Sector 3. I'm not sure who exactly it was. But this is the battle we thought we would have. Trout Racer is in P1. But Smoking Cheese right behind us. Jensen dives into the pits really early. That's a very, very early stop for him. Smoking Cheese now knows he needs to gain that time as Evan Roberts has pulled into the pits to retire. It's not gone well for him on his return to Formula Regional Series. And he is the first retirement of the session. Look at that gap on the left-hand side of your screen. 1.3 is the gap at the moment. If he gets within 1 second, he gets the DRS, the drag reduction system, which means his rear wing can open. And he gains that extra bit of straight line speed that he needs to try and close the gap and make an overtake. There's another yellow flag in Sector 1, and that's just Evan's car rejoining the track after his retirement. F1 Mad doing pretty well at the moment. Currently sat on softs as the Aston Martin squabbling yet again. This time it's JD that gets the upper hand and retakes P5. It's great to see them battling so well, but they don't want to fight too hard. P5 and 6 would be fantastic for Aston Martin in the battle for the constructors. They do not want to finish last. And with Mercedes retiring, they've got a perfect scenario to make sure that they get enough points to take themselves off the floor of the Constructors' Championship. Smoking Cheese now is within a second. If he can hold this for the first sector, he will start to gain on Track Racer, and then we will see the elbows come out. P1 and 2 in the standings. P1 and 2 on track. Smoking Cheese, after 8 laps, has finally recovered from, it's fair to say, that awful qualifying session where he started P11, messed up his final lap. Track Racer, it was pitch perfect once again where it needed to be. Meanwhile, Josh Owen diving up the inside of F1 Mad. Those soft tyres must be going off now. But he will try to switch back. He's got one more chance now, F1 Mad, to get the position back. It's so difficult to overtake round here because you've got to sort of do it twice. If you attack, you then have to defend. But Josh Owen was close enough to have the DRS and make sure that he stays on that podium. P3 for Josh Owen in the Ferrari. It's a good move. Well made. And now we'll get to the back of Smoky Cheese, who is struggling to make any massive inroads on Track Racer, which is what he needs to do. And he dives into the pits. It's an early pit stop for Smoking Cheese. He's got to try something. This is what he's trying. He will go into the pits. Will he go long? I'm not too sure. He does. He goes on to the hards. He's playing the undercut, and it's a massive undercut. We didn't expect drivers to be coming in this early, as Jensen sets the fastest lap of the race on his fresh set of mediums. The only issue Smoking Cheese has now, he's got an awful lot of traffic to try and get his way back through. But I think he knew, Smoking Cheese, that he wasn't gaining that gap. Wasn't finding the necessary time he needed to do. So he's trying something. He's got to try something. It's the only thing he can do at the moment. So he's dived into the pits onto a set of hards. Realistically, the hard tyre can go the whole way. So if there were no safety cars, this could be a stroke of genius for Smoking Cheese if he's got enough pace on them. But if not, It could be an issue, and obviously safety cars could ruin that strategy as well. But as it stands, Track Racer, both in the lead of the championship and the race, with the commanding lead, 2.3 seconds at the moment over Josh Owen, who, like Cheese a moment ago, isn't particularly gaining fast. Spray and Pay gets another 3-second time penalty along with Matt Harris on the fringe of the points. It's not gone well for Spray and Pay, who had a pretty decent qualifying actually, and he's dropped right down the order since. But this battle for P4 is getting a little bit interesting. The two Aston Martins and Alfie waiting in the wings. And there they go. JD round the outside, gets it done before the corner. They're playing nice. I think they know that they've got that Ferrari behind them, so they're working together to make sure that they're not overtaken. Shreves and Noodle having a fight as well. It's Shreves moving his way up into P9. A little bit further back. Smoking Cheese on these hard tyres, struggling to make any sort of inroads. Doesn't have massive pace on that hard compound tyre, as his teammate is in F1 Mad, pulling into the pits now off of that set of softs, and you'd imagine he'd also go onto a set of hards unless he fancies a two-stop. He could go onto 2 sets of mediums or a medium and a hard. Comes back out of the pits, yes, onto a set of hards. Where is he in relation to his teammate? He is a little bit behind, which actually is proof that the undercut is working, despite the fact it doesn't look massive, the gap. Smoking Cheese and F1 Man, as you can see, 2.5 seconds roughly is the gap, which should go up a little bit more. Yeah, 5 seconds now. Meanwhile, JD getting back around the outside. He's beaten by his teammate Kieran into the chicane, but he should hopefully, for him, regain that position. But Alfie's closer than he's been for a long time now, and he's right on the diffuser of the Aston Martin, and he is going for a move up the inside. He's stuck his nose there. He's done well. Has he got enough traction to get the position? No, he doesn't. He has to sit and wait a little while longer. It was an opportunistic move from Alfie. He didn't quite get it, but it was a clever idea nonetheless. Noodle and Shreves fighting once again. A little bit further back. But Smoking Cheese is on the back of it now. This is where he doesn't want to lose time, and he's joined them right at the worst moment as well. He's going to be losing time all throughout this third sector. He needs to get a move on. As the Red Bull moves out the way, Shreves ducks out the way. Good sportsmanship from him, which is interesting though, because surely he'd want to help his teammate win this title. Evidently not, as he backs out the way of Smoking Cheese. Doesn't want to get in the way, doesn't want to interfere with anything to do with the title. With the title fight. And Cheese now has only got Noodle to get past. He's losing a lot of time, you can tell he's frustrated. But he'll zip round the outside, and he should actually have DRS as well for the back straight. And Smoking Cheese is back up into P8. Just a reminder, he's taken a pit stop. His championship rival, Track Racer, has not. And if you have just joined us, Track Racer leads the championship in this final round by 12 points. If he finishes P3 or higher, the title is his, as F1 Mad gets past Italy as well, who's still on old mediums. He's yet to stop. And obviously, never say never. We've seen so much happen in the last few laps of a Formula Regional Series race. We've seen so much happen all the time. In any race, anything can happen, whether it be a late safety car or a collision up top, which leads to an opportunistic winner. It happens. So although the odds are not in Smoking Cheese's favour at the moment, anything can happen. Track Racer has made mistakes this season. And it means he is more than within a chance of making another one today. What is difficult for Cheese, though, is not only does he have to beat him, he's got to make sure he is well beaten. Outside of the top 3 is what Cheese needs. And Smoking Cheese also realistically needs to get the win today. But still, all the Aston Martins and the Ferrari, line and stern, 1, 2, 3. Not going for any moves just yet. It looks like the Aston Martins are actually working together really, really well so far. As he dives to the inside. Does he get the move done before the corner? Oh, just about. They're not fighting too hard. And in fact, Kieran's got a little bit of an issue here with Alfie, who this time has had a nice little run. And he's trying to switch back. It's not really a chance to overtake through this third sector. And he finds out the hard way, having to slam on the brakes to avoid going into the back of the Aston Martin. And Alfie once again has to resort to sitting behind them. Josh Owen with a 3-second time penalty. That's a big issue for him. As JD pulls into the pits. The first of the main medium runners to come in. Around about the midpoint of the race. And he should go on to a set of hard compound tyres here. And he does. Which should put him in good stead. It'll be interesting. JD is miles behind the McLarens at pits so much earlier. If you look at the bottom right hand side of your screen at that mini-map. That blue dot leading the way at the front. At the top of that straight. That's Trap Racer. But while he's at the end of the straight, Smoking Cheese is at the front of it. So he's gained time with this undercut, Smoking Cheese, but it does mean that he's going to be evidently slower when Trap Racer finally does come into the pit, because he will have fresher tyres. But there's a bit of mayhem here. A lot of traffic that JD's sort of bought his way into. Fnord Throne dived into the pits as well a couple laps prior. As Fnord Throne go for a move, it's going to be 3 wide into the hairpin. No. They make sure that they don't fight too hard. Fnord Throne takes a position, is already alongside Spray and Pray. Fnord Throne was a title contender until a few rounds ago. 2 spells of bad luck saw him out of it. But he's been so good, so consistent this season. And that's what's won AlphaTauri the Constructors' Championship. And it's what's gotten Fnord Throne. If he finishes well in the points today, it's what will get him P3 in the standings. He can't finish lower than 4th. Great little season. Race winner a couple times. But it's not quite enough. But Josh Owen is now in the pits. This is the marker we want to see. What is the gap between him and Smoking Cheese? Bear in mind, the gap between Josh Owen and Trap Racer was around 2.5 seconds. So if he's further back than 2.5 seconds, which he very clearly is, Smoking Cheese is in the net lead of this Grand Prix. Bar Jensen, who is in front, but Jensen will be doing the 2-stop. As his mediums are already 8 laps old. And as we get just about to the halfway point of this Grand Prix, things get interesting. Trap Racer has stuck it out long like he usually does. I think he's waiting so he can go onto the softs at the end potentially. But the longer he waits, the closer Smoking Cheese will get, because he is very close now. In fact, he's right on the back of Jensen as well, who will be struggling on those 8-lap-old mediums. He will have lost a big amount of time. But we'll ride on board with Smoking Cheese. But Trap Racer is in the pits and he's gone onto the hards as well. Very interestingly, we've had no safety car so far today. Which is very, very odd considering it's one of the staples of a Formula Regional Series race. We are yet to have a safety car. Doesn't mean we won't have one. Yet to come out. We've not seen any collisions. Trap Racer comes out on the hards. He didn't want to risk the softs. But he will have very, very clean hards by the end of the race in comparison to Smoking Cheese, whose tyres are already 7 laps old. But here he goes, making the move on Jensen. And that's the move for Net P1. And his teammate F1 Mad wanted to go for it as well. There's contact between the two. It was a late lunge by F1 Mad. Jensen didn't see it and dived into his side pod. But F1 Mad gets the move done. And he's got DRS on his teammate now. Will he want to make an overtake, though, on Smoking Cheese? I don't think he will. He can't do anything about it, and it means that Jensen will look up the inside. No, not close enough. And it was like a game of chicken there. Nobody wanted to be in front. Going into the left-hander, F1 Mad did very, very well in the end to not overtake his teammate, but also keep Jensen at bay. Good defense from F1 Mad. Smoking Cheese finds himself now in P2, and I wonder if F1 Mad is going to be used as a bit of a doorstop. I wonder if Smoking Cheese has asked him if he can try and hold up Track Racer for as long as he can. As things stand at the moment, Smoking Cheese finishes P2 on 18 points and Track Racer P5 on 10. Track would still win the title by 14 points. It would still be his. There's F1 Mad taking the lead down the straight. And helps just to give his teammate a little bit of a tow. And in fact, Jensen has gone for a double overtake here. It's an aggressive move and he's gone wide. It's not quite paid off. And he's almost made contact with Smoking Cheese, returning back to the circuit. It looked like he'd almost pulled off a miracle there, but he went just too late on the brakes. And he loses the positions back. And Smoking Cheese, unfortunately, has been dropped down now. All of a sudden into P3 with his teammate in front. Once Alfie pulls into the pits, if we theoretically say that Track Racer moves up to P4 and Smoking Cheese moves to the lead, he will be in the front of the seat for the championship. With just over 10 laps to go, is F1 Mad, no, not F1 Mad, sorry, Alfie finally goes into the pits. He's on those mediums for 17 laps. It's a great little stint for Alfie on those. Meanwhile, Josh Owen right behind Track Racer, who is right behind Jensen. All of a sudden, from out of nowhere, Track Racer has caught up already. That gap has been rescinded straight away. And he looks to dive up the inside of Jensen into the left-hander as it opens up onto the back straight. And Track Racer already up into P3. He's come from absolutely nowhere and is in the DRS and slipstream of his championship rival Smoking Cheese from out of nowhere. Those fresh tyres proving absolutely pivotal for Track Racer. And already he smells blood. As it stands, P2 and P3, the title would go to Track. But he doesn't want it P2 and P3. He wants to get the position on track to secure things. Side by side, it's the championship contenders. Track Racer's got to go around the outside. It's got to go the long way. And he makes it stick. What an overtake from Track Racer. Right round the outside, he gets it done. Cheese looking to try and fight back. There's nothing he can do on the old hards. And it's a position gone for Smoking Cheese. But what an overtake that was from Track Racer. That is a man on a mission. He is determined and desperate to get this title. The only man in his place now is F1 Mad, who will be trying to hold him up no end. Shutting every door, closing every window, making sure his tyres cover every single bit of the tarmac that they can. But he's made a mistake and he's run wide, and he's enabled Track Racer to get alongside already, and he doesn't want to overtake. Once again, they're playing chicken in the DRS zone. Both of them lifting off and getting on the brakes because they don't want to give the other DRS. But Track Racer does eventually have it. And in the slipstream, in the DRS, using overtake, he gets through into the lead. And it's mission resumed for Track Racer. Back up into the lead after a handful of laps. He's only just gotten onto those hards, but he's once again reclaimed the lead. Not only of the race, but of the championship. Smoking Cheese needs to find some more. He's got to think for a miracle now. He's on older tyres. He's in the wrong position. He needs Track Racer to finish behind where he is currently. It's not looking good for Smoking Cheese. But it's dreamland for Track Racer at the moment, who is in a beautiful position. And now, for the remainder of the laps, he will look to do just what he did in Brazil and absolutely dominate the rest of the race. Fastest lap that goes to Alfie. And there is a yellow flag on the circuit. And it's Jensen who's gone round and he's gone into the wall. And it's the exact same spot where just 2 years ago in real life, Nicholas Latifi had that infamous moment. And it almost happened again. Jensen very nearly causing a safety car in that pursuit to try and get the fastest lap on those softs that he's on now. Making a mistake. And it looks like it doesn't actually have any front wing damage, so it was just a spin for Jensen. And now he's right on the back of Italy, and he should see his way through, but back up in front. Smoking Cheese has got another issue now. Not only has he been overtaken by Trapp, but he might get overtaken by Josh Owen now as well. Smoking Cheese is all over the place. He can't control that McLaren. And you can't even see Track Racer in your picture anymore. He's 3 seconds up the road. He's cruising away now. I'm just getting word that JD actually spun Jensen. And Smoking Cheese comes into the pits. He's going to go onto a set of softs, and he now needs to hope for a safety car. It's a last-ditch effort. He needs some luck here. He needs to hope for a Track Racer mistake. But we've not seen that so far this weekend. Everything has been perfect so far for the man in the Red Bull. It's not gone that way for Smoking Cheese. It could have been a different story today if he didn't qualify P11. It was a disastrous qualifying for Smoking Cheese. Maybe the pressure got to him. It's probably his worst qualifying he's had in Formula Regional Series. He needs to try and get back up there. Currently in P8 with a lot of fresh air, but with not a lot of time to get to where he needs to be. 23 seconds behind. Realistically, he needs to be gaining by almost pretty much 3 seconds a lap. Alfie's got the fastest lap of the race at the moment, so he doesn't need to worry about any of that. But unfortunately for Cheese, it's all gone wrong today. And elatedly for Track Racer, he has driven perfectly. Still a handful of laps to go, and anything can happen. Never say never. Regardless of the world of Formula Regional Series, in the world of Formula 1, full stop, you cannot count anything out right until the last. We've seen so many times throughout history drivers celebrating early, thinking they've won. You look back to Nigel Mansell in Montreal all those years ago, celebrating his victory before the gearbox jammed. The clutch broke because he was going too slowly, and he retired from the race. It sounds stupid, but it could happen. Undoubtedly, it could happen. There's still battles as well going on in the mid-pack for positions in the standings, both constructors and drivers. Fnord Thrones had a quiet race today, but him in P5, that would be enough for him to secure P3 in the standings. Jensen fighting Alfie in the standings as well. Alfie would claim P5 as it stands, unless Jensen can claw his way to get some decent points from this race. But it's looking unlikely that he'll get enough to save himself. There's a yellow flag in Sector 2. And it looks like maybe it was just a car going slowly. Smoking Cheese is gaining, but it's not enough. As Jensen gets another 3-second time penalty, it's not what he needs in his pursuit to secure his place in the standings. There are the penalties at the moment. Smoking Cheese already ahead of Bananas, who pulls into the pits. But Alfie on none. Same as Smoking Cheese, Bananas and Shreves as well. It's 3 seconds for Fnord, Kieran and Josh Owen. Gap to the leader, then Smoking Cheese 20 seconds behind. He did take about 3 seconds out of Track Racer last lap, to be fair. But he is on fresh softs. And I think he knows that he will not be able to do that lap in, lap out. It's too little, too late for Smoking Cheese. He quite frankly has been outboxed today, unfortunately for him. But only a handful now of laps to go. And Matt Harris now, the other Alfa Romeo in the pits. Quite a lot of drivers have dived on to a set of softs to try and push to the finish. It's not quite going to be enough for them. Here is Jensen though. This is important for Jensen. Currently 3 points ahead of Alfie in the standings. Alfie scoring 8 points here. Jensen needs 5 points in order to keep his position in the championship after being spun as well by JD. It's not the result he wanted after once again such a promising qualifying for Jensen. Not going well for him at all. But he's on the back of Shreves now. And it should be pretty light work for the Alpine driver to get through. And that's P9. And he'll double his points tally for the evening. That's 2 points now. Still wouldn't be enough to stay ahead of Alfie in the championship. Well, JD did get through. Jensen, I should say, did get through. But Shreve's fighting back ever so slightly. He doesn't want to give it on a plate. And he'll have a look, but there's no more opportunities in the third sector. And the superior grip of the soft compound tyres will now be pulling away. Jensen in P9. 4 seconds away from Bananas, which would give him 4 points, which still wouldn't be enough. Once again, Jensen needs a miracle today as well. F1 Mad, he's got to be careful. He's got Kieran all over the back of him. No longer over the back of him, all over the front of him. As the Aston Martin dives up the inside before the corner's even there. Jumps back on the racing line and claims P3 ahead of F1 Mad. Kieran's tyres are 4 laps fresher. And they are still tussling, to be fair, but it does look like Kieran has that position. And you'd expect him to pull away over the next few laps. But as we wind down today, it looks like it may be the first race in a long, long while without any safety cars. So the drivers have driven very well. F1 Man's still on the back of Kieran, actually. He wants to get that position back. He's not happy with losing it. Alfie as well, also on the back of Fnord Throne, which will not help either Throne's cause or Jensen's in the Drivers' Championship. And Fnord Throne's left the session. Fnord Throne's been disconnected, which is a massive shame, because if he loses too much time, he will lose at P3 in the standings. And I know EST is watching today, and it will mean that that man will claim P3 in the Drivers'. It'll be P3 and P4 either way for the AlphaTauri pair. As Spray and Pay's retired. And there is a safety car. Now things change. With only a handful of laps to go, the safety car is out. And this means we'll see all of the hard runners diving into the pits. Interesting thing now is, what does Smoking Cheese do? I will imagine that this safety car will pull back into the pits. before the final lap. Does Smoking Cheese take the track position, or does he dive into the pits now and put another set of softs on? This is the crucial moment. Does he want track position? No, he doesn't. He's going on for a set of softs. He wants the fresh tyres to Smoking Cheese. He backs himself with probably only one lap of green flag racing. Backs himself to try and get back through. Track Racer, though, is still technically at the front of this field. So was that the right decision then from Smoking Cheese? Because he would have been in front if he took the track position. Smoking Cheese could have been right ahead of Track Racer, and he could have defended as hard as he could to take the win. But he decides against it. With only 2 laps to go. Which is absolutely pivotal, but I've just seen that Smoking Cheese has a time penalty. A 3-second time penalty for Smoking Cheese. Surely all but seals his fate. It's the one thing he did not need. Especially with a safety car right at the end where everybody's going to be bunched up. 3 seconds is going to be added to Smoking Cheese at the end of this race. And it means that even if he did have a chance against Track Racer, he probably doesn't now. And he needs to hope for an absolute miracle. And the safety car is still out, which means we'll have only 1 lap of green flag racing at the end of this Grand Prix. And we'll have a look at Track Racer. Does he have any sort of penalties at all? 2 warnings on lap 2. And then a warning on lap 19. Which I do think means if he crosses the white lines again, he will get a 3-second time penalty, which would make things even more interesting still. But Smoking Cheese needs a lot to happen here. He needs to win. Even with that 3-second time penalty looming over his head. And he needs Track Racer to finish outside the top 4. None of which is happening at the moment. Safety car is in this lap. The rest of the grid haven't bunched up yet. Josh Owen gets a 5-second penalty for a collision with Track Racer. It's not what he needs. Despite the fact there's a car in between him and Track. But it's up to Flawed Throne in the AlphaTauri to decide when to go. And he's going to get absolutely swamped on this final lap. 16 lap old hards compared to completely brand new fresh softs for everybody else. But this is it. 1 lap now decides where the title goes. Is it Track Racer or is it Smoking Cheese? Flawed Throne has got 1 more corner before he will release the pack. All Track Racer knows he needs to do is stay out of trouble. And Throne's almost gone, and he's gone, but he's made contact with Track Racer. And awfully, Track Racer's now dropped way back and has lost some time and has lost some positions as well. A little bit of contact with the McLaren, but somehow Track Racer makes his way back up into P2. And he's going to be alongside Flawed Throne very, very quickly, and is there already. It's going to be 3 wide into the left-hander here. The McLaren of F1 Mad trying to do the dirty work for his teammate. It's not enough. But he will hop into the slipstream down the back straight, and they're weaving and weaving, trying to break the slipstream is Track Racer. Josh Owen making his way up now as well. As the AlphaTauri's getting swapped, he's already down to P5, P6 now as well. There's contact between F1 Mad and Track as we ride on board now with F1 Mad. He can't get the title, but he can do everything he can for his teammate. Smoking Cheese has not made any positions yet. It's looking golden for Track Racer, but he still wants this win. There's still a race to be won here as the McLaren going round the outside It's a carbon copy of Track Racer's move on his teammate. And they're still going side by side. There's almost contact. There's still not contact. Somehow they stay together. And F1 Man has to admit defeat. It's immense defense from Track Racer and the man in the Red Bull after the final few corners. What a season it's been. Track Racer wins and Track Racer is world champion. He wins season 1 of Formula Regional Series. And it's a thumping victory. Pole position, win, and the championship to boot. Smoking Cheese made his way up to P5, but it was not enough. And congratulations go to Track Racer, who will go down now in history as the winner of the inaugural Formula Regional Series season. It came down to the last lap. But Track Racer took it. He had a 12-point advantage coming into the final round. And he takes the top spot. Wins in Abu Dhabi. Wins Formula Regional Series. It's a massive result. And what a season it's been for him. You look back to that time in the middle of the year where he was struggling just to get a point on the board, and the likes of Smoking Cheese and Track Racer gained on him. But there it is, your final standings for Season 1 of Formula Regional Series. Track Racer takes the win of the championship as well. F1 Mad claims P2. It's Alfie 3rd. Bananas P4. Smoking Cheese 5th. What a race for Bananas, by the way. Kieran P6. Josh Owen 7th. Shreves finishes 8th. Is Fnord thrown in P9, which means he finishes 4th in the standings behind his teammate. Jensen P10. And then it's Noodle, JD, Itzley, Matt Harris, Spray and Pay, and Evan Roberts both retiring. What a race it was. But just quickly, we'll have a little look back at Track Racer's season. And what a year it's been. He started off with a P3 in Bahrain, but he did get the fastest lap. And we all knew that undoubtedly he was going to be the force to reckon with this season. Only 1 point next up in Jeddah, finishing P10. Was not positive, but then a win in Qatar put him in great stead for the title. He retired in Portugal, as we mentioned previously, before going on a 3-race winning streak, taking 26 points in Spain and Austria. A win without the fastest lap in Great Britain. And that's when he started to struggle. 10 points for the entirety of the sprint weekend in Hungary. He retired in Belgium, 1 point at Monza, did not take part in Singapore, and retired in Mexico. So 1 point in 4 rounds, 11 in 5 was not good enough, and he was caught right up for the USA. The first blood in the battle for the championship between Cheese and Track Racer went to Cheese, who beat him in the race. It was a P2 for Track Racer that day. And then only 1 point in Australia in a messy final few laps before a commanding victory last time out in Brazil. And he's done the same again today. Congratulations to Track Racer, who wins the first season of Formula Regional Series. What a win, both today and for the entire season. And that's it from us this year as well. We hope you have a fantastic Christmas if you celebrate. And we will be back in the new year for Season 2 of Formula Regional Series. Make sure to follow us on Instagram so you do not miss any single update before the upcoming season, with new additions such as a Tier 2 as well. 2 tiers next season, double the racing, double the excitement. But for one final time this year, thank you so much for joining us. I've been Will Judd. And we will see you next year. Cheers.